to grab your own birthday gifts at some of your favorite shops and supermarkets. So you know where all the birthday fun day, right? Join the biggest family in Ghana and let's chill on your special day. Kind courtesy MTN. Note that all terms and conditions apply. When we're back from this break, we'll speak to Dr. Yao Safo, the CEO of Medicas Hospital.
Rise and shine, my people, and welcome to Radio 550. Now, today it's all about enjoyment on MTN. Oh, yeah! MTN Rewards is giving the best deals on all the things you love. Just keep talking, texting, using your data to collect points, and get amazing offers and discounted freebies right away, every day. To check your rewards, dial *550# and voila, everything's someday for you all. From airtime to data to shopping discounts to movie tickets, we got you. So keep using MTN and redeem your rewards every day. Ono like enjoyment. Let's go. Everywhere you go.
All right, you're welcome back. This is Drive Time on Joy, and on Wednesdays, our Drive Doctor shows up. Dr. Yao Safo is the CEO of Medicas Hospital. Today, he joins us via phone. Hi, Doc. Good afternoon. How are you?
Hello, Kwame. How are you?
I'm very well, and how are you too?
I'm very well.
Nice.
Today I heard you asking everybody to tell us about their full Ghanaian names.
Yes.
So now we've dropped the Louise, eh?
Kwame.
So Kwame. Sichiyama.
What's yours?
Mine is simple. Yeah, Osafo.
I know.
No, Tupe. My dad wasn't afraid I would get lost in town.
And then no pentem. And where are you from?
Enum Boso, or they say Boso. So I'm a Guan.
Okay.
From Boso. But most people know Enum, which is a neighboring town.
Okay.
And I'm a Guan from the eastern region.
You know your hometown? You've been there?
Oh, yes. Oh, Kwame. Also be my hometown. Since I was very, very young.
Yeah.
We've been going there, and twice a year I go there. I'm very much involved in developmental activities in Boso. So, yes, also be my hometown.
That's
time.
Good. One
and
of
I
these
speak
days.
the language too.
Oh, you do? Metro. One of these days, you need to tell us a bit more about your hometown. I'd love to know more about it.
I will.
But today,
next week, I will come to you with a history of Boso.
That would
the
be
people
nice.
of Boso and the Guans. You know, we are the original landlords of this country, so I got a lot to say about the Guans.
You're Monfa, that's it.
So once we have landlords, we must have land guards. Is Philip there?
Of course, original land guard. He's here.
The land guards are the best. I'm beating Philip.
So today we continue the conversation we started last week. We introduced a conversation about fibroids, and you give us some good education about fibroids and all. So today we mostly want to ask questions. I'm sure folks have questions about fibroids and that condition. They probably have encountered it before, and they have questions that they would want you to answer. So if you're listening to us right now, the number to send your questions to is 055 1111 997. Okay, 055 1111 997. A bit later as well, we can see whether you can call in as well and have a conversation with the doctor about fibroids. And last week you gave us quite some in-depth knowledge about it. Today I really want to find out what causes it. What causes fibroids?
Right. Good afternoon to all our listeners. And Kwame, yes, last week we started a conversation about a very common affliction of women in the reproductive age group, not only in this country, but in most parts of Africa and then most parts of the world. And we call this particular condition uterine fibroids. You may have encountered it by other names. They are sometimes referred to as myomas. And fibroids, simply, just by way of recap, are benign growths. And when in medicine we use the word benign, then we're saying that it won't kill you in simple terms. not that it is harmless, because it can cause you some significant morbidity, but definitely it's not going to cause mortality. So these are benign growths that originate from the muscle layer or the muscle cells of the uterus. And I did mention that there are three main locations. It will start in the muscle layer, the wall of the womb, and then it can grow outwards to involve the surface, the outer surface. It can also grow inwards to involve the cavity of the uterus. And depending on its location, it gives you a number of different symptoms. So the question I got a lot after last week's show, Kwame, was the question you just asked: what causes fibroids? Well, it is not clear the exact cause, the direct cause of fibroids, but we can point to a few factors that can increase your risk of developing fibroids, and these are the ones that I want to discuss. The first one, Kwame, is family history of fibroids. And this takes me back to the point I have been making since we started the show, which is that we all must endeavor to know about our family history, medical family history. Too many times people come to the consulting room and you make inquiries regarding their family medical history, and most people seem not to know, or they will just tell you that, oh, there's none in my household. But I think the truth is that most people are not aware of their medical family history. We tend to, even within families, tend to not want to disclose the health status of members of the family. But it is important that we have a rethink about this particular position, because some diseases run through families, and you would need to know what their family history is. Of course, if you've got first-degree relatives, your mother, your aunt, sisters who have had fibroids in the past, then you are likely to also develop fibroids. The second risk factor is early onset of your menstrual cycle, what we call the menarche, the age at which you experience your first menses. Kwame, the development of fibroids are closely linked to exposure to estrogens. Estrogens are the female hormones. If we talk about the female sex hormones, we talk about estrogens and then progesterones. So we believe that exposure to estrogens, which starts when you start your menses or you reach puberty, all the way through to the menopause when it stops, the prolonged exposure to estrogens also helps in the development of fibroids. So if you start your menses very early, and these days, I've seen 9 years, maybe sometimes 8, puberty started very early for girls these days. I think if you ask our mothers, they will tell you 14, 15, that's when they had their first menses, but now it's down to about 9 years. So if this particular female doesn't become pregnant at any point in time, all the way to say maybe 35, then they've had a very long period of exposure to estrogens and increases their risk of developing fibroids. The third risk factor is obesity. So, again, it's never a good idea to carry too much fat, more than what you need. So how do we notice obesity? The protruding bellies. So these days I'm seeing way too many young people with increasing waistlines and the belt struggling to be contained beneath the protruding abdomen. Also the big behinds. So the women, a very African posture that we all physique that we tend to have. The protruding behind. So obesity is a risk factor for the development of fibroids. So we all want to make sure that we're not carrying too much or excess fat on us. The fourth risk factor is a diet that is high in red meat. A diet rich in red meat and poor in vegetables. and poor in vegetables. So again, we come back to the conversation on red meat. We want to cut down on red meat, and today there is another reason. If you are a young female, in the reproductive age group, then you may want to cut down on the amount of red meat you take, because it will increase your risk of developing fibroids. Let us also improve the amount of vegetables that we consume, fruits and vegetables that we consume. And the last point, and Kwame, I've left the alcohol brigade for the entire year. We haven't mentioned alcohol in any of our conversations. So
don't.
So the last point is alcohol use. And these days, the Me Too movement and the equality thing, the women are taking it into so many areas. But please, this area, they should just leave it to Philip and the crew. They shouldn't bring the Me Too thing into alcohol use, because it will increase your risk of developing fibroids. So, Kwame, this is my long answer to a very simple question.
Yeah.
What causes fibroids? We don't have a direct cause, but these are risk factors that we usually discuss.
Interesting stuff there. If you're listening in and you have any questions, you can send them on WhatsApp 055 1111 997, or you can call us on 0302 216541. Today, I'd want the doctor to answer your questions about fibroids or any condition related that you'd want to share. For at least today, we know the causes, the family history, the early onset of menstruation, like you said, obesity, and you said a diet which includes a high amount of red meat, right?
Yes, a
So
diet which is high in red meat.
Okay, so we need to increase the intake of vegetables, yeah?
Exactly, yes, and low in vegetables. So we increase the vegetable intake and we decrease the red meat intake.
Okay, and also alcohol use is related.
Alcohol use. Again, I'll make the point. If you don't use alcohol, there is no good reason to start.
Good stuff. I've got a question here from one of our friends who's asking, is it worth removing a 4 cm fibroid? It is submucosal, if I got the word right.
All right, Kwame, you got it right. You got it right. I mean, you were paying attention last week. Assistant doctor.
That's me.
Right. So she asked a direct question about size. So and she talks about, I'm sure she's referring to surgical removal of the fibroid.
Yeah.
So she asked about a 4 centimeter fibroid, which is submucosal, meaning it is protruding into the cavity of the womb. The conversation your doctor would have with you is this: do you have any symptoms? Is this bothering you? That's always a question that we would have a conversation that we would have. So what brought you into hospital? Most women with submucosal fibroids or fibroids in that location come to us with complaints of heavy menstrual bleeding. And usually this would have no connection with the size of the fibroid. We've just realized that the fibroid mass itself is rich in certain receptors for the hormones that prepare the lining of the womb, which causes the shed if you don't become pregnant and causes you to have heavy menses. So some women bleed heavily to the point where they become symptomatic for anemia. Their blood levels drop and then they experience dizziness, palpitations, shortness of breath, fatigue on minimal exertion. If you're having these things, if this is the reason why you come to hospital, then we're not just looking at the size of the fibroid, but then the location and the symptoms it is given the individual. Then your doctor would introduce the options. I would hasten to add that there are other treatment modalities. So sometimes we can put you on certain medicines. There's medical therapy. So surgical therapy is not our first option. There is medical therapy where we would put you on certain medications. They are usually hormonal medications that can reduce the extent of the bleeding and then we would adopt a watch and wait approach and see whether or not the fibers increase in size. But Kwame, the location also is problematic in the sense that if this woman has reproductive wishes, then she may be experiencing recurrent or habitual abortions or miscarriages, as most of you would refer to it, miscarriages because of the location. And then that may be a reason why the doctor would recommend surgery. If you are having difficulty attaining a pregnancy or sustaining a pregnancy because of its location, then surgery usually will be recommended.
Right. Good afternoon, Lexis. I was told if your womb is busy, no fibroid. But if your womb is not busy, you get a fibroid. Please ask the doctor for me. That's from Renee in Dodoa.
And I'm thinking, since the womb is meant for its primary work is to carry a baby, Renee, by using busy means that you're getting pregnant and you are carrying to term. So, if my understanding is right, then yes, if you have children or if you you become pregnant and you carry the pregnancy to term, you reduce your exposure, your womb's exposure to the hormone estrogen. And again, we know that estrogen is indicated or is involved in the development of fibroids. And that is why when you start menstruating very early, menarche is early, and you don't get pregnant, then you are likely to develop or you increase your risk of developing fibroids. So yes, women who have children tend not to develop significant fibroids or develop fibroids at all.
Okay. Good afternoon. Is an ovarian cyst a fibroid?
Simple as that, no. An ovarian cyst is not a fibroid. So again, the fibroid is a benign growth that originates from the muscle layer or wall of your womb. The ovaries are not connected or they are not directly connected to your womb anatomically. They are not. They are located to the extreme right and extreme left of your lower abdomen or your pelvis, if you like. So an ovarian cyst is a totally different entity from a uterine fibroid.
Okay. Doc, please, Lexis, ask Doc if fibroids can have an impact on a woman's menstrual cycle.
Absolutely, yes, it can. It causes most women to have heavy menstrual cycles. Something your doctor may use the term menorrhagia. So if you've been to the hospital before and then the doctor mentioned menorrhagia, or you go online and you see menorrhagia, we're referring to heavy menstrual cycles. And Kwame, how do we know a woman is experiencing heavy menstrual cycles? They tend to observe blood clots in the menstrual flow. So usually the flow is supposed to be smooth without clots. If you start to bleed with clots, then we would think that the bleeding is heavy. Some also flow heavily, such that they have to change their vulval parts multiple times. Sometimes they would soil themselves in public or at work because of the very, very heavy flow. A woman will tell you that my usual cycle length is 4 days or 3 days. I bleed for 3 days or 4 days or 5 days. But then I have noticed in the past 6 months or so, I will bleed for 10 days. I will bleed for 14 days. It doesn't stop. The moment you begin to see these irregularities with your menstrual cycle, the prolongation, the heaviness of the flow, the clots in the flow, then it's a good thing to go talk to your doctor about it, and your doctor will definitely investigate you for the presence of fibroids.
Okay.
So yes, fibroids can alter a woman's menstrual cycle.
Well, Danso is asking, Doc mentioned obesity and big behind arising from fat. How about if the fat has purposely been transferred to the behind, as in cosmetic surgery? Is there danger of developing fibroids?
Oh well, okay. So I was just trying to practicalize obesity and how we notice it. So obesity is determined using an individual's body mass index, where we check your weight and then your height, and there's a formula for arriving at that conclusion. We are also able to determine what we call the abdominal circumference and use it to make a determination. So if you've had plastic surgery or cosmetic surgery, as the term is now, and to move fat from one part of your body to another to enhance your appearance, well, it depends on what your body mass index is. Remember, we're taking the fat from your own body and we are not taking it from another person. So if at the end of the day your BMI still puts you in the obesity range, then you are obese.
Okay. Hi, Lexis. Please, can fibroids shrink or come out on its own?
All right. So the second part of the question, no, they cannot come out on their own. But yes, the first part of the question, the answer is yes. Fibroids can shrink, and some of the modalities that we adopt for therapy involves shrinking the fibroids. So I did mention that they grow under stimulation of a hormone called estrogen. So if you, for example, have a situation where your estrogen levels go low, then the fibroids will shrink. And this situation happens naturally when a woman reaches menopause, the cessation of menstruation. It's not just the menstruation, but the ovaries tend to lose their function when there is the physiological or the natural loss of ovarian function, which typically occurs at around age 48 in Ghana and in most places. The average age is around 48 years. When there's that natural cessation of ovarian function, that means you are no longer producing as much estrogen as you produce in your reproductive years. Then the fibroids tend to shrink. So that is why sometimes your doctor will adopt a watch and wait approach to care if you are close to the menopause, because as we observe, most often after the menopause, the fibroids tend to reduce in size.
Okay. Let's get on the phone line now. Hello.
Hello, good evening.
Hi, good evening. What's your name?
Good evening.
My name is Na.
All right, now please go ahead. The doctor is live.
At the age of 27, I was told I had fibroid, but
Okay.
oh,
baby is crying. Baby wants to talk to the babe doctor.
It's okay. Yeah, like this. At the age of 27, I was told I had fibroid, and then that's when I conceived my first child.
Okay.
Then, after 3 years, I had a second one.
Okay.
But I don't know whether fortunately or unfortunately, I was told there is no fibroid there. I don't know how that happened. Is it possible?
Mm-hmm. Right. Kwame, can I go ahead?
Yes, you can go ahead.
Right. So, yes, it is possible that you had fibroids, and then the fibroids would shrink. They can degenerate. That's a term that we would use to the point where they are no longer detectable. So, the theory-wise, it is possible. We don't know the size of the fibroids. They will not always increase in size. And as we mentioned, if you become pregnant, then you interrupt the exposure to estrogens that a woman would experience, and therefore it is possible that the fibroids would shrink to the point where we do not notice them anymore.
Lexus, based on the doctor's explanation, I had menses early, 11 years. However, in the past 5 years, it's reduced to just 2 days flow. I have no fibroids. Can it affect fertility?
I wish I knew how old she was. No, at the moment, you're still having your menses. Fertility is not just the menstrual flow, but your ability to produce viable eggs. And that is very key to a woman's ability to produce or to become pregnant. So having a flow of 2 days, we shouldn't worry about it. We won't worry about it. We wouldn't say that means you are infertile.
Okay. Dansoa's next question is a digression, but she would like to know, should a mother worry if a 10-year-old starts menstruating and then in the next 3 months doesn't?
Sorry, Kwame, I didn't get that second part.
She says, should a mother worry if a 10-year-old starts menstruating and then in the next 3 months doesn't?
Okay. Right, no, not at all. Actually, when the menstrual cycle starts, it tends to be very irregular for a lot of women. It tends to be irregular. So 10 years, as I said, puberty now, the average age within 10, within 9 years. So nothing surprising about a 10-year-old female experiencing menarche. And again, nothing surprising that for the next 3 months, she didn't have her cycles. It tends to be irregular for a while and then it regularizes.
Okay.
Or it may stay irregular. Because some grown women will tell you they have irregular menstrual cycles. So not every woman has regular menstrual cycles.
Okay. Well, it's been some 2 weeks of good education on here. Maybe you can add a final word.
Our time is up so soon.
Yeah, it's up so soon. You know, there are lots of questions I would have loved to ask, but yeah, I couldn't read some of the questions because there are a lot of them, but we're out of time. So maybe when you're done with your final submission, you can add your contact so that folks who want to get in touch with you can call you.
Okay, right. So Kwame, as we wind up the conversation on fibroids, I know there are lots of questions, but this is what I want to say. Surgery is not the first and only option for fibroids. That's number one. There are other treatment modalities. Second point I want to make is that I've heard many times women complaining to me, and today at the clinic I got one woman complaining about fibroids growing back. I did the operation and it wasn't done well, and the fibroid is growing back. They don't grow back. They just develop from another cell. There's so many muscle cells in your womb, so many of them, hundreds and thousands and probably even millions of them. One grows into a fibroid, and when we take it away, another can grow into a fibroid just as the first one did. So that notion that the operation is done, it's removed, and it grows back in the exact same spot is not entirely correct.
Okay.
For those who want to reach out, the number is 0501 477 340. 0501 477 340.
Okay, good stuff. So we know that we need to know our family history.
Yeah.
And exercise a little bit as well.
And
then stop alcohol.
Yep.